Donate some.
Okay, so we're going to go over some of the PRI assessment stuff today, and that'll pretty much finish out all of our assessments that we do for the most part. And then we're going to go over a lot of the PRI exercises. The main thing, looking at what they call like a left AIC pattern, which is left anterior chain, which means that most people hang out like this. All right, so I'm over my right leg, stuck in my kind of right hip. I've got like a right rib cage drop, and usually pelvis is oriented to the right leg, which is normal, right? We see it pretty much everybody. And it only becomes an issue, usually with us, when we see people stacking a ton of like fitness on top of it, or they're just so stuck that they can't ever get back into the left. So we'll start with the PRI assessments. This is nowhere near all the stuff that they do. This is the ones just that we use. They do an awesome job of really kind of giving us an idea as to where things are oriented. So with like the adduction drop test, which we'll do in a second, if you can't bring this femur back and abduct it down, it kind of gives you a hint that the pelvis is dumped into a certain position, because now this bony structure is getting hung up on another bony structure, right? And you can use a bunch of other things to kind of confirm it and test it. The thing that I find troubling, and this is all just my opinion, is that they, based on like the practitioner doing the test, can sometimes give you a false sense of like what's going on, right? So there's a lot of ways that they do with the adduction drop test. Like even I'm not the best at it. If I have like a really big person, it's hard to lift their leg up and like get them to do stuff. I don't know if they're just actively holding something in the air, or like, you know, I kind of give them a couple cues like, hey, maybe you should like, are you relaxed? And some people can't even relax. So I don't know if that just means they're automatically hypertoned and that they're stuck in that position, or is it kind of like, yeah, they're just on edge a little bit. So there's a couple things here that I'm kind of like, we'll see. But again, it just gives us another opportunity. So like if during our SFMA breakouts or our FMS stuff, we see something that's like, I don't really know what to do there, and one of our exercises doesn't change the test really quickly, we can go back and maybe like look at some other avenues as to like what might be causing this, and get some more information to then pick up better tests. Because the other thing too is, so I pulled out the Myokin binder. In the appendix, right, where it has all these exercises, there's literally 70 pages of stuff, right? Each page has 1 to like 3 exercises on it. So yeah, it's not always clear cut to be like, oh, we have a left AIC pattern, let's go with a 90-90 breathing, even though we use that quite a bit because it works pretty often. You may have to do some other things to look and say, like, all right, what might dictate us to go to like supine hook line, maybe a left side line, get the frontal plane first, and crap like that. Okay? So first thing, Dylan, come on over. We're going to go with is the adduction drop test. Right? So he's going to lie on his side. Doesn't matter which. Right? He's going to put his head down like this. He's going to pull his knees up to his chest. I'm going to come on this side. Right? And what you're looking for is when I bring this femur back into extension, does his whole back just go there? And what we're also going to see is, can I pull this knee back and then drop it across the midline, right? So he's going to relax, he's going to give me this leg, right? And then I'm going to bring him back, all right? Dude, that is it, right? I can feel him getting super stiff and tight, and that is not even close to extension. Like, so I try, what do you feel when I do that? Yeah, he wants to just go, right? Now, typically, he just wants to arch his back to get there, right? So, and then you can see like it comes down, but if I were to bring him all the way back and then come down, what do you feel?
Lower right back.
Right? It's starting to strain already in this lower part of his back, right? What you'll typically see in someone, especially on his left side, if they can get back there, is it just hangs in the air, right? Because that pelvis is turned that way and tilted forward, right? He's going to get the acetabulum of that kind of getting caught on that spot. So it just kind of just hangs up there. There's a whole host of other stuff that they call their pelvis restoration course, which then you would typically have them, so bring that, can you squeeze that knee down to the floor? Right? And you can then, if they can't do that either, now you have something that's really, you need to get like somebody to like help out better, right? There's a pelvic dysfunction that you need to address. Yeah. And then we'll usually go with an abduction test. I'm going to bring him here and then stabilize the hip and bring this up into abduction. Any pain? Right? That's actually not too bad. On the left leg, you'll usually see better abduction. You should. So that was like pretty good. We want to probably get a little bit higher. let's check the right side.
Is there like a numerical or like a degree?
Yeah, just, again,
Good, bad,
there's, I should have looked it up, but, typically, maybe we'll check at least in a second, because she may have a ton of abduction, you can see the difference, right? So now we're on this right side, because we typically know that they're usually stuck in their right hip, we kind of want to just brace that and bring it out a little bit, right? Again, so give me this leg. Oh my god. All right, and then, so if we were going to go down, any pain in that one? No. Squeeze it down hard, right? Feeling different? Right. So then we'll straighten this leg out, we'll keep this hip here. That feeling different? No. What do you guys think? About the same?
Yeah.
Right? About the same. It felt a little bit tighter, but it wasn't too crazy. Right? How about that?
Alright, so you're saying, oh my god, that's so not nice to say.
Right. So,
No,
no, I'm going to do this.
That's what I don't do.
Say it not fun, it's just not fun.
Yeah, don't say it to people.
It's a good, you say, this is a good starting point.
Well, now I know.
Alright, so this is like much different. I can pull her femur right back.
Right.
He was literally like,
You actually, like, you could see, like,
Yeah.
strain versus
and then just
Yeah.
let your leg go limp, right? And that's not bad. Squeeze your knee down to the ground, right? So she can get there. It's a little bit like, so you'll again, this is why I kind of like this test and kind of don't like this test. Like, it feels like she's hung up a little bit there, right? But she can squeeze it down, which means she can get there.
Can
Right?
you
So
squeeze it down again? Okay, I thought I saw her hips roll forward the first time.
yeah, a little bit.
Okay,
Right? So we'll take this. And what do you feel like? Nothing.
so that's higher than
That's,
yours.
I would say
It's a
that's
different
pretty
angle.
good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Other side.
You didn't win. It's over, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Unfair advantage.
Take
this. Alright, so here's the thing. This one goes back like really easy, right? And that's typically what we see is because in this left AIC pattern, because the pelvis is done forward, you'll usually see a front anterior hip that's getting a little bit pushed too far forward, so it's stretched out, right? And then let that just drop to the floor if you can. Right, so it's actually, you see the difference?
Yeah.
It's like hanging up even higher.
Yeah.
That's what we typically see. That would be a positive
So she's on the right side.
Yeah, she's stuck in her right side, correct. Right, so now squeeze that down to the floor. Much harder, correct? Like she can't even come close to getting like on the other side. That's what we're looking at, right? And then let's see what we got here. That is different, correct?
Yeah.
Like that looks much higher than the other side, right? And that's again what we would expect.
He used to be doing 90-90 breathing now. Programming. Right in there. Right.
Every day,
Every day.
So that's the adduction drop test and abduction, like just passive assessment. You'll see with this like not like this is more than the postural respiration one, but a PEC, which is posterior extensor chain, is one where someone is bilaterally stuck this way, right?
The guy last week?
Yeah, right? But even you're probably, because you can't get either of them now, right? We pull his femur back at all, and it just goes, boop, and he pops forward on both of them. And that's where we don't necessarily go after the hamstrings first. We try to get more of this stuff repositioned a little bit. But again, for our purposes, like we're just going to go through all these things. A lot of this stuff is just really good things to work on to create awareness. And then if you are using your assessment to kind of drive which ones to do first, you'll probably see a quick change, right? We're going to follow a little bit of their algorithm, which works really well in the setting that they provide it for, and that we're trying not to necessarily get people out of pain. What we want to do is set it up so that they can still feel certain things when we go to do our training, right? So if I know that, man, I don't have any pain in any of these assessments,
Oh, jeez.
I don't have any pain in any of these assessments, but when we do like our split squat test, they're like, yeah, my right leg feels so much better than my left. How do we get them to figure out to get back into that left hip with some of these exercises? We'll change things drastically. All right. So let's go with adduction lift test. So Doug, I'm gonna need that box.
Oh, I hate this.
Well, Dylan, that stinks because you were gonna demonstrate it. All right. Normally they have. Normally they have someone sitting like on a clinical table with their leg up on their shoulder. I don't really think that that's the best way to do it, because if I have someone that's like very tall That's very different than someone that's like your height and their leg is now at a different angle to push off. But again, that's the way they do it. We do it with the medium box, which I thought was a pretty good bounceable. So he's going to lie with his top leg up on the box. Right? He's going to get his foot up here, perfect. This hip needs to be rolled forward, right? We want to keep this as neutral as possible, so no extension. We're going to bring this foot underneath. All right? So the first thing he's going to do is get a nice breath out. All right? So, right? A level 1 is squeeze this foot up to the knee. Right? You did that, nothing moved. Awesome. Hold it there. Bring that back up and hold it there. A level 2 is going to try to not move anything and lift this knee off the floor. Alright, so you got to hold it there. Get there. Alright, now holding that, try to dig this foot in the box and lift both hips off the ground. Good. Any pain?
No, something correct.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, alright, so try that again. So lift the knee, yeah, go up off the ground. Right? Now if you can get this hip higher than this ankle, right, it would be, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? He's at like a 3. He can get off the ground, he can't quite get this level, and if you go higher, it would be a 5.
That's all it's gonna go.
Try the other side.
This is gonna be a 2.
Alright, so you're here, alright, we're gonna be here, alright, give me a breath out, okay? Keep this leg pretty straight, good, foot to knee, good, holding this hip here, try to lift that left knee up. So he wants to roll back this hip, right, which is kind of normal, right? So you can, I think that you kind of got it, but he's going to press it pretty hard here. Yeah, so again, try to lift the knee up and then try to lift everything off the box, off the floor. All right, now does it feel easier or harder to get off the floor?
Harder.
Right.
You had an exhale at the beginning, are they supposed to be exhale?
They should stay.
For the most part, like contracted
Yes,
exhale.
they should stay in this flex position. So if they meet, like, you know how you kind of like just pressing hard on that side and then kind of arches back a little bit, it's just stop the test. Right? He died just moved.
Oh, sorry.
So in most cases, what we're looking for on this is, can he get this adductor on with this ab wall? Right? One of the big things that they use for this is to kind of sometimes determine when do you start people standing up to do their treatment plan. Right? So if they can't get, I think, a 3 or above, they should do everything kind of on the floor until they can develop enough strength and competency to get themselves actually off the ground. Right? Which is kind of interesting. So, when did you notice?
Use this test? I mean, you wouldn't use it on everyone.
No, I don't. I used to use it all the time, and then I just
usually
huh?
So you used it on me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, then here's the thing. I kept finding that like people just were terrible at it. Like, yeah, and it was just like, all right, we know that most people can't do this, right? And then unless I have someone that is already clearing a lot of the other stuff, it just seems like, why am I going to put them in a position that they're going to fail? So here's what I really liked about this one was the first time I learned how to do all these things. I was just constantly testing this one to figure it out, and what it did was it really magnified their whole idea of this like right adductor being way stronger than the left, and this right QL and low back being much stronger. So I was watching the home study course, and I kept testing it on this couch while I was doing it, and then literally within like 5 minutes, I was like, this is the same back pain I always get, because I kept using this right side and compressing really hard into that right hip, like kind of what he did. It wasn't until I did some of the other stuff, and I was like, oh, now I feel this and this instead of this and this, right? Which is pretty much that, right? So it's a good test to just see, can they actually feel this left ab wall to get off the ground and with this right adductor? But again, most people really are terrible at it, so I would just kind of stop doing it. Well, it's the thing, it's like, and the other thing too is, one of the things that was really interesting was I was with our massage therapist, and I had her do some of the manual techniques first. So we tested it, and then she opened up this right side, and I think did something in this like brachial chains part as well. And then we tested it again, and it was like night and day. So it automatically gave me like way more power, and I went from like a 3 on both sides to like a 4 on both sides, just with some opening up of that ab wall and some expansion of this right chest wall. So it can change, but I think you need to have the right input, which again, in their setting where they're doing manual techniques and they're doing these other things and have different tools, it works really quickly. In our setting, it's kind of like, well,